Welcome back once again. Show number 49 or so, I've been told, the Kevin Pollak's Chat Show. I am, as always, Chat Show. So nice to have you with us here on this beautiful Sunday in the Santa Monica area. I will say this. You're not buffering. I have a couple of very, very funny cats, and I just wanted to take the first 60 seconds to be the first to make them laugh, because they're going to be making me and you laugh all damn day, or at least the next 3 hours, because that's what we've got blocked for this show. What? We are a bit off kilter here at the Kevin Pollak Chat Show, because two of our core members are MIA. Jamie Foxx, the head writer and fabulous chat jockey of these proceedings, the inventor of the Larry King game, as well as Tyra Paris or Demi, the Twitter game that's spreading across this great land of ours and others, is at the she's at the Walt Disney World theme parks with her best damned girlfriend from her childhood, who just graduated law school. And you know, when it happens, you say, I'm going to Disneyland. That's what happens. They throw up the hat and they go right to Disneyland, and then become lawyers. No, wait a minute, that's not the order at all. That's incorrect. Are you enjoying the thing that my hat's making? Because my director says it's really, really off-putting. And I'd like to state that I think my director's off-putting. What? In Jamie's place, we have the luxurious, if I may, and semi-pro archer, Corey Levine, or Levin. I'm going to say Levin. Sam's on my brain, too. Corey Levin, how are you, sir?
Hello, how you doing?
I'm damn good. Your family dropped the E at the end of Levin and said, no, we're not Levine.
I'm really sorry about that.
Yeah, what the hell?
I'll get it changed for next time.
Where are your people from, by the way?
Originally?
I'm asking.
Like way back?
Sure.
Okay, sure.
Let's go.
Let's see.
Let's go just after the dinosaurs.
Austria, Poland, Russia / Poland, somebody from Alsace-Lorraine.
What? Is that an animal or a place?
It used to be a country. It's not anymore.
Wow.
The French and the Germans keep fighting over it.
What do they call it now? Larry's?
Some of them call it France, and some of them call it Germany, I think.
All right.
Yeah, it's complicated.
That's pretty, yes.
Yeah.
You're, I like that. You're the Heinz 57 Jew.
I appreciate that.
You can't beat that. But thanks for sitting in today.
Happy to help.
Yeah. I would greatly appreciate it. You'll be handling the tweet fives and the questions that come into the Twitter page there.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. And also replacing Sam Levine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I could ever do that.
He sits where the "Your Ad Here" sign is. And again, we thought that would be funny in Sam's absence. And my crew thinks it's funny as I hear them laugh through the thin wall. Well, I look forward to seeing what they think in the chat room and the Twitter page there of just how funny that is. But we miss Sam Levine, and I'll tell you why. He's gone back east because him and his new gal pal have gone back east to meet each other's families.
Wow.
That's the rumor. That's what I read in the trades. So I'm very excited to hear the returns. Now, Jamie sent us, just checked into the hotel there and sent us a little photograph from her view. Look at that from the hotel, overlooking a beautiful parking lot, and then Magic Mountain.
I thought that was the Shrine of the Book.
That's not Magic Mountain. That's the Space Mountain. I'm sorry. I'm full of magic. Space Mountain, Magic Mountain. That'd be hilarious if you flew all the way to Orlando and had a view of Magic Mountain. There's your funny, right there. That's where my brain goes. It writes a joke, and I pass it off as fact. Yeah, she's got a parking lot in Space Mountain to look at, which we're very thrilled for her, and she just can't wait to get all the other photographs from her. The sixth and final episode of season 1 of Vamped Out debuts tomorrow. They've been rolling out every Monday. Yes, and we've reached episode 6 debuts tomorrow, which means after tomorrow you can watch all 6 back to back and don't have to wait for this annoying 6-week rollout. Some of the responses have been truly amazing. The great thing about working on the web is you have abject total creative freedom, and it just doesn't exist in traditional media. So when you get it, you salivate and you celebrate, and then you wait and to see what everybody else thinks of you. As a stand-up comedian, I had this kind of control my whole life, whole career, being the editor and the producer and the choreographer often. and the performer and director, and then you get all the credit and all the blame, and so you live moment by moment on stage. And then when I came into the acting nonsense, immediately gun for hire, no say whatsoever, and the two of them as careers side by side have been interesting to say the least. But then I found them both available to me in this web series, Vamped Out, which I had such a great time creating with Jason Antoon, the hilarious he of Lebanon. A lot of people said we wouldn't get along because he's Lebanese and we're natural enemies. But in fact, not the case. So excited to have worked with him and had so much fun. And then directing the thing, the debut, was very exciting. And some of the best reviews of my career, which is not an easy feat. I've over 60 films, 5 of which really good. So, anyways, that's that. It rolls out tomorrow. Go to babblegum.com where you'll be able to watch all 6 now, which I'm very, very excited about. A new feature on the show the last few weeks. We're going to roll it out now. We've now got a graphic. Very excited. Are you ready for Ask Kevin?
Ask Kevin.
Well, there it is. Isn't that quick? All right, so the Ask Kevin questions from you, the viewers, to the fan, the website there. You just go to contact Kevin Pollak's chatshow.com. We're putting it up now so you see what it looks like, in case you were wondering. This first one comes a big fan from The Visitor. So you're The Visitor. Big fan of yours ever since the one-night stand years. I was part of the first batch of HBO's comedian stand-up shows called one-night stands. They were half-hour. It was the first guys who hadn't earned the right yet to have their own hour. So they thought, well, we give these guys a half hour. And anyways, it was a pretty amazing moment in my life. We're talking, yes, I'll say it, 22 years ago, 1988. So this guy's been a fan since then. Love your chat show, Vamped Out, and bid you much continued success. My few questions are from one Trekkie to another. Assumption. Number 1, what's your favorite TOS episode, and what are your favorite quotes from TOS? Well, I think we part ways in terms of being Trekkies. TOS, anybody?
The original series.
The original series. Thank you from the other room. That's how much of a Trekkie I am. I had to send out and have delivered the answer of what is TOS. The original series? Favorite episode? It may also be the favorite quote. And it was just on. I'm doing shows this weekend at the Irvine Improv. I'm having such a great time on that stage. It's a really great room. Even though it's in Orange County and their sphincters could not be tighter, I am wasting no time in pointing that out to them, and they're having a little laugh at themselves as I take the piss out of them, as the British would say. I've enjoyed the weekend much. And in between shows, I find myself in front of the TV there, and this episode was on last night, and Friday night, and I was amazed at the good fortune I had. It's the one where they beam down to a planet. Jill Ireland, I think, Spock falls in love with. They get shot in the face with some spores, and it's the only episode where Spock shows just this lovey-dovey emotional side all the way through, which I hope Sam doesn't come back from back east like that, having been shot in the face by the spores. And so Spock gets all lovey-dovey on this planet, and his whole Captain Kirk's crew, everyone gets shot in the face with spores, and now they're going to, the last party is about to beam down off the ship, and the ship will just float by itself, and everyone will live happily on this planet. And Kirk, of course, somehow fights the spores and conquers them, and he realizes and discovers the only way to snap Spock out of it is to enrage him. Well, for a guy who doesn't show emotions, that would normally be very, very difficult, but Spock is full of emotions right now, and Kirk, at one point, when he has his face off, one of those fights as they circle each other, and Kirk is trying to enrage Spock, says, "You're a freak, Spock. You belong in a circus right next to the dog-faced boy." And I thought, is that where he belongs? Right next to the dog-faced boy? Not the bearded gal? You're going to go with the dog-faced boy? All right. So there's my TOS episode and quote. What's your favorite TOS? No, we're done with you. Thank you. This one from Dr. Concussion, because I'm curious. Out of all the movies you've been in, there must be one or two that have been huge commercial successes. Just the one or two? Really? I'm thinking mostly of airings on TV network and the like. That being said, which is the movie that, for one reason or another, continues to bring home the best residual bacon? I'd take a guess, but with your laundry list of titles, I'd most certainly be wrong. You are, in fact, correct. Dr. Concussion. At Dr. Concussion is his Twitter name. You know, it's funny. People think because A Few Good Men is on TBS every week, that that would be the most fruitful residual check. But we're going on 20 years for that movie. Wowza. So the residual checks are like, $74 at this point. Because contrary to public belief, they don't actually send you a check every time they air it. These things get bought in blocks. So what's weird is, lately, crazy giant checks from a movie that none of you saw. So why the giant checks? Because I was riding, and still am apparently, the Ashley Tisdale train. Yeah. Playing her father in a little motion picture called Picture This. You're welcome. And for the last 3 years since this thing came out, there's been a number of checks that have turned my head, needless to say. It's so weird, the residual check thing, when they are big, because it's like, oh, I just earned X amount of dollars for going to the P.O. box today. I did absolutely nothing. So, yeah, it's not the ones that have been around forever, surprisingly. The better story might be from The Usual Suspects, which we the Suspects, this little tiny movie made for $5 million, shot in 5.5 weeks, that nobody believed in and nobody thought much of prior to production. 28 places passed on this, what would be Academy Award-winning screenplay. And so all the suspects got a point in our back end, along with the coffee and donuts we were paid to shoot the film. Then this movie becomes literally a cash cow for the studio that releases a new DVD special features edition every 18 months. And just, I don't know, $100 million every 18 months. It's crazy. So we, the Suspects, with our 1 point, have literally yet to see a dime. I'm not going to say which of the other suspects has called and talked to me on numerous occasions about forming together and hiring an attorney, but it sounds like this. Can you fucking believe it? These fucking cocksuckers. How much have they made? Are you with me, man? All right.
Chaz Palminteri.
It is Chaz Palminteri is the correct answer. So residuals, good and bad. There you have it. There is, in fact, today's portion of Ask Kevin. And then the thing goes back up again, maybe, one more time. No?
Ask Kevin.
There we go. That's why we don't rehearse. The next new part of the show, which I introduced a couple of weeks ago and had an awful good time with it, and then came way shy this week of preparing, is called The Big News. No graphic. The big news clearly appears to be the oil spill, and the fine folks at BP are just about out of fingers to point elsewhere. And somehow Halliburton popped into the picture today, and don't you know, it was shocking to everyone who read that Halliburton may have in fact been working on this particular pipeline just prior to it exploding and causing what's clearly the worst devastation to a body of water in known history. And so the big news today for me, the theme really was, these things are turning into Sunday sermons, accountability. There doesn't seem to be any in life. And it's a generational thing. And I knew that we were pretty much on our way to, if we're lucky, a moment like Pompeii. When, I don't know, 10 years ago, I'm going to say, I went into the restroom at a comedy club, otherwise known as my dressing room. And I went into the stall to urinate, which is where I like to do my urinating. Not good in the public urination. Little shy with the peeing, with the people gathered. Feel pressure. Don't need it. So I like to hole up in the stall there. Take all the goddamn time I want. And I walk in, and I know this is old hat now, but it was that first time I saw it. The seat was down, covered in pee, and it was ground zero for me of the end of civilization as we know it. Pee on the seat. Now, apparently, I've talked to a couple of gals. This has been going on for centuries in the women's bathroom. But in the men's bathroom, the peeing on the seat 10 years ago when I saw this, it was the first red flag of the mentality of a new generation, which was fuck the next guy. Can't be bothered. Fuck them. Don't care. And it has seeped into the natural order of things that, to such a degree that it is as unnerving as the lack of accountability and that goes along with this ridiculous oil spill. New York Times Jad Muwahad, because that's a name, shared some of these facts. 05, BP's Texas City, Texas refinery blew up, killing 15 people. The next year, badly maintained pipeline spilling 200,000 gallons of crude oil into Alaska. 07, Tony Hayward, that's the name we're looking for. Hi, Tony. How are you, fuckface? Took over as CEO of BP in 07 and pledged to improve risk management. Hey, nice title. Risk management. That's what you decided to improve, settling some criminal charges and agreed to pay some $370 million in fines from the 05 and 07 catastrophes just prior to the most recent goings on. Risk management. $370 million in fines. That sounds like risk management. 370 in fines. We have a bigger issue at hand, and it seems to be becoming more and more apparent every passing day as news organizations are covering this story, which is, oh my God, it's just been running rampant for a very long time, and these giant companies just write checks every single month to cover their asses in fines, and otherwise are making absolutely no improvements in any efforts whatsoever. Then to bring in Halliburton, because what? Somebody need to get a shotgun in the face? Why are you bringing in Halliburton? Oh God. So accountability. I'd love to see some, not just where there's oil in the water, but where there's pee on the seat. Let's look out for each other. Would it kill you? Give a fuck about the next guy. That's what I'm asking. All right, welcome to show number 49 of Kevin Pollak's Chat Show. I'm so damn excited about today's guests. I'll tell you why. They're funny. They're funny, they're talented, they're on your television, and they've become little internet moguls in their own way. And by little, I mean, of course, like myself, they are not statuesque Jews. Randy Jason Sklar, please let me just say welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Wow.
We're very excited.
I am excited to be here.
Thrilled.
Yeah.
that we got
I'm going to
you.
say that Halliburton had something to do with the pee on the seat. I'm going that far back.
Put them in that.
I'd throw that in the mix there, too.
I think Halliburton has something to do with her seeing Magic Mountain down where she was.
Yeah.
Although I thought for a second, when you said that, I'm going way back to a joke from 6 years ago.
Sure.
From show 48.
From show 48. That's
That's
how
how
far
long
back
ago
I'm
it
going
was.
in this show. We're into show 48.
Yeah.
Had she been in downtown Orlando, she would have seen Magic Johnson's Magic Mountain, and that would have been
I see where you're going.
its own thing.
Yeah. I like that.
I don't.
Very much.
Go ahead.
You don't care for that one?
No, I just want him to continue complimenting us. So bring it
Sorry,
on.
yeah, why would we cut that off?
To then talk about
weird
jokes
that-
that didn't make.
There's a weird thing among performers where we desperately need appreciation,
Sure.
and the moment it comes with any sort of
Shun
one-on-one
it.
conversation, it must
away.
stop.
Block it.
Yeah. First of all, thank you both. I'm going to dive in a lot of the show, if as you've watched bits and pieces of it, is always involving my fascination with the journey of life, how one gets from there to here. And I literally don't mean from Laurel Canyon to Santa Monica. In your case.
My case.
Yeah.
Well, my journey in life was literally is the 101 to the 110 to the 10, and you can kind of go through.
And
There's like a
figuratively.
weird path, and
And
figuratively, literally and figuratively. But
Yeah.
I am I love that you're fascinated with that, and as I watch the shows, I'm like, I'm fascinated with that too. Like,
Right.
I'll go and look at like stats of baseball players just to see like who's getting close to 3,000 hits.
Wow.
I'm like, oh, what did he do back then? To
Right.
me, like, and then whenever
I'm like that too, where if it's like a band, like I remember I spent a whole night looking at old Bruce Springsteen clips from the 70s before he was huge,
Right.
maybe some Europe, some stuff he was doing in Europe,
Right.
just to see, like I love hearing like huge bands not get a huge response from the crowd because they weren't huge
Sure.
yet.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's where he was at that point.
Right.
I'm fascinated.
And
by
you're
that.
telling the story of the usual suspects and that whole thing. I like as you're telling that story, I'm like, what was that set like? Okay, so you get on there and you do like 5 weeks in this thing, and
Yeah.
you know, obviously it's not like doing a massive studio
No,
movie,
no.
but like, were people really generous? Did people have an idea like at the time that it was going to be? Did you guys know it was going to be a great movie?
We just
or-
knew that it was the best script that any of us had ever read, and still is the best script I've read. And it was 1994, I think,
It's
that we
amazing.
shot it. Yeah, but Bryan Singer and the now Academy Award-winning writer Chris McQuarrie hadn't really done anything prior.
Right.
So all we knew was the script was amazing,
Right.
and then what? It's hard to put things in perspective, but Gabriel Byrne was by far the most famous, most successful of the group, and really just from indie films. The Coen brothers, of course. But no one knew who, I'm spacing on his name now because he's
Kevin
one of-
Spacey?
Well, the thing about Spacey was he and I were up for the same parts at that time.
Oh yeah. So you would see him.
Benicio
everywhere.
del Toro was the name I was searching
Right,
for, and I
right.
thought there was 4 names in it, but it turns out there were just 3. Nobody knew him from Adam.
Right.
And in fact, in the lock-up scene, there's a moment where my character, he says something, and my character says, "What the fuck did he just say?"
Yeah.
In the movie. That's actually me, the actor,
Being like, what the fuck did he
saying
say?
to the director,
I
"What the
cannot
fuck did he-"
understand what he's saying.
Yeah,
Yes,
and it's-
someone
I
please-
honestly, Dikembe Mutombo with a mouthful of crackers would be
little
more
more
intelligible.
intelligible.
Yeah, yeah. So we just knew that the script was great and didn't really know what we were capable of or what the thing was capable of. Can you move the shirts off the table? Really, Mike? It bothers you? How's it now? Better?
Just play them out. Just get them live.
Yeah, right?
all over the
Display
We
them
don't
if
like
we
this
can.
table
yeah.
anyways.
Yeah, no. I
We
think
really
we
wanted
need
here.
this if
Here,
it's
let's do
possible.
this. Yeah, let's
There's a
do
way
this.
we could just
Nice.
do that.
This is nice.
That would.
Because then we can
Now let me see
we
that
can
too.
we
Yeah,
can we can
yeah.
black screen the table.
Look at that. Look at
So
that.
there we go.
Right. And then this.
There we
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
And then there.
That's nice. That's good. Yeah. Yeah. And
Anyway.
we have to do the rest of the show like this.
Exactly.
Because he will not relax.
And so
for the
every
next
time,
hour.
every time, if there's anything else we can put up here, I was going to put like my.
All right.
It's just the mess.
Now I'm happy.
Yeah, we're good.
I'm not going to lie
We're
to
good.
you. Okay, so as I was saying,
Yes.
The journey. The journey.
Yeah, you may need your drinks at
I
some
need a
point,
drink.
though.
The journey.
Yeah, the journey. So the thing is, I was always obsessed with biographies. If there was any artist, if there was any musician, or what have you, their life story often was sort of, well, there's the music that I love. No, that's perfect. There's the music that I love, and now, see, what I love too is your shot, he can't stay above it. No. That's great. The cacophony on the
too.
table. And also that it's in motion. That's pretty nice too. That's not going away soon.
It really makes editing
Yeah.
this down.
It's going to be Mamushans before this is over.
Very underrated.
Yeah.
Very underrated. It was the
underrated.
religious puppetry of the penis.
I know there were no words in Mum and Chance, but that was some of the tightest writing I've ever seen.
Clearly.
Best character work ever.
So let's go back,
Yeah.
if we may,
Shall we?
where,
Let's
where
do
the
it.
journey began. You grew up in the St. Louis, Missouri.
That's right.
Your dossier suggests, which is rarely 100% accurate. So St. Louis Cardinal fans, does that
Yes.
happen?
Huge.
You've both read 3 Nights in August, of course.
Yeah, read it.
I read most of it. I got to still.
You felt
He's on night 2 in August.
On
Yeah.
the second night in August.
Because I got
night in.
involved with the Cardinals through this this book, turning it into a movie, which we're still in the process of doing with Tony La Russa. and Buzz Bissinger, the Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist.
That's right.
He of Friday Night Lights, one of the great sports books ever written.
Ever.
And so I spent some time in St. Louis and realized that it's either Budweiser or the Cards. There's really nothing else
And now there's no more Budweiser.
that anyone will talk
Well,
about.
Budweiser was bought
Right.
by InBev.
like InBev, some like German company. And it's
What if it was Bevco? Wouldn't that be great if Bevco bought
Bevco bought
Budweiser?
Terrible.
That'd be awesome.
BP actually bought it. They're going to spill Budweiser all over.
Now
all
we're
through
talking.
all into the Mississippi River.
It's just gonna ruin all
Dump
the.
it. No, but there's that. But there's Monsanto Corporation,
of
which is a
course.
major chemical corporation. There's McDonnell Douglas, which builds
Right.
warplanes.
And not Petco, but one of the big. There's
Purina.
Purina. That's it.
That's also in St. Louis. But there's also amazing Italian food in St. Louis.
Hello.
The Hill. That's an area in
I loved growing up in St. Louis. I always felt like it was a great city to be a kid, to grow up in. I mean, it was safe.
Still
and
is.
it was
Suburbia? Were you in the city?
Yeah, but
we
we
lived in
were
a place called Creve Coeur,
Of
which
course.
is
which, if you pronounce it French, the correct French pronunciation is Creve Coeur. But of course, we're in
From
Missouri,
St. Louis.
and it's
Creve
Creve
Coeur.
Coeur. We're out in Creve Coeur.
over there on Highway Farty Far, right out by the no. So it was and it was a great place to be from.
I loved it because we could be normal. We didn't grow up in like the business of any sort, and
Sure.
no one in our family, nobody was in show business whatsoever. So like
Right.
there was no template for us to do anything. So we actually had to grow up as normal kids, which, as you know, like if you're gonna ever do comedy or ever gonna create any material whatsoever, you have to have lived a life. You have to have lived.
You need stories to tell.
That's right.
stories
And
to
so
tell, people to and you can't have that. I think you can't have that desire to succeed before you understand what that is.
Right.
And because then you want to be famous. You don't want to be good. You want to be like, oh, I want to see my face on TV, as opposed to, I want to make these people laugh. In the comedy sense,
Right.
And so I feel like a lot of kids here, that, especially with reality TV, people grow up. They're like, I want to be on TV. That's what I want. If you ask kids today, that's the crazy thing. Ask kids, they say, I want to be famous.
Famous.
That's what they want to be more than anything now.
Yeah. If you ask them famous for what, for doing what,
Right.
they wouldn't know what you're talking about,
Right.
let
Don't know.
alone have an answer.
And then would not know that like being famous without money is terrible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Because there are a lot of people like that.
talk to like reality, like people on Project Runway or whatever, like the people who didn't make it but were there for like 12 weeks, and you're like,
Well, how about these geniuses? I'm just realizing
Let's
that.
just-
it was an unbelievable
it was
funny
very
joke.
funny, and now we're done.
now it needs to go.
We're finished with this.
Now the joke's on me. As I saw you nicely balling up some tissues as they
sitting
blew
on it.
as they blew next to you, I thought,
Sitting.
maybe we need to clean house a little bit.
Tissue PA.
No, the geniuses on the Jersey Shore.
Yeah.
The hottest thing ever held out
Yeah.
for $10,000 a
I
week.
know.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what you held out for?
look, they'll be able to get as many like True Religion jeans as they want, and Ed Hardy clothing, and like
Right.
they're going to be outfitted for the next several years.
Right,
and they'll
but
go
do you
to
remember
parties and
season 2 of
Exactly.
Thank you.
Say
You're
no
already-
more.
no, you just
I
did
don't
it. You
remember
just did it. You
I
just
don't
did it.
remember it. That's
yeah,
why.
that is the point, and that
Yeah.
the fact that they got a season 2, I guess, is the celebration. Now, all right, so you're growing up there in St. Louis,
Right.
and when did you stop wearing the same outfits? Let's start there.
Early. Our parents early on, they were like, look, you
We
guys,
can't do this.
We don't want you guys to be, mirrors of each other. You look enough alike. I mean, I think from the get-go, we were in separate rooms, which gave us a chance to be individuals, and by individuals, I mean masturbate quietly by ourselves.
Amazing how you both were right there on that button.
There's only one thing you can do in
In your room.
so.
But no, I actually do think it allowed us to be individuals. They were very, very conscious to be like, look, we want you guys to be friends with each other, but we don't want you to rely on the fact.
I
that
actually
you're
remember
twins.
when we were in
Was there a moment where this
Yeah,
was...
I actually remember when we were in preschool, and somebody said to us, "Why don't you guys switch shirts and switch classes as a April Fool's joke?"
When you're 4?
4.
See, that would be a nice payoff when you're in high school.
Right, but
Great
they said
gag.
4. 4.
But at
Maybe
4?
I don't know if it's even a great gag, but they said, because it's been done before.
Sure.
And so at that point, I think we even knew that was a little hacky. And I
At
said,
4?
At 4, I said, I don't think so. I'll switch shirts with that kid, who didn't look anything like me, and
A.J. Hillinger.
I said, I'll go with Hillinger. Let's change clothes there. And they're like, no, it doesn't work that way. And I'm like, but that's what I want to do. And
At 4?
I think at 4 we kind of knew. I don't know why.
We didn't want to, I guess our parents instilled this, didn't want to be pushed into something where we didn't make the choice. So it's like, I feel like we've been fighting that in our career. It's not only did we take a career that is incredibly difficult to pursue and succeed in, we were like, we're not going to do it the way that it would be gifted to us if we did, which is like just follow and do like the most basic twin stuff that's expected of us.
Right.
And so we kind of went a different route. And in that same way, we're like, we just don't want to be told that this is the way we have to do it. We'd rather twist it in some way. And that kind of, whether we knew it or not, started like the comedy. I feel like we got a lot of messages that comedy is important, but without being like you have to go into comedy.
Was this coming from your parents?
A little bit of parents.
Our dad, who sadly passed away this past year, and just a great guy, fought cancer for 2 years, and what just an awful struggle that was to go through that, and he just passed away in December. But he was always a guy who would, like, wherever he went, we'd be in the car, he'd be at the, getting gas, and he would like go into the place and pay for the gas, and within a second, the person would be laughing immediately. Now, he's not like telling a joke. He was just a funny, jolly guy.
Jovial.
More vaudevillian, but like loved comedy, loved Jack Benny, and loved, like old, Bob Hope and stuff like that. So maybe he didn't have the best taste. Kidding. So he loved comedy, but he would always make people laugh. And so as a kid, when you see him walk into any situation, go up to talk to anybody, within like a second they're laughing, you are like,
It sent a message.
oh, that's a good quality to have.
Yeah.
Like you.
Also, kids naturally admire their father.
Of course.
Absolutely. And where their tendencies lie,
Yeah.
you kind of aspire towards.
Right.
And so I think we were rewarded.
And by kids, I mean boys. I just
Sure.
realizing that I said, kids, yeah, because
Well, I have 2 daughters, and I think
they want to be you.
They look up.
Oh, they're funny. His
They're
daughters
funny
are funny,
kids.
and I think they understand that comedy is a currency in their
Like
household.
if they do something wrong, but then can make me laugh about what they did, I'm like,
off the hook.
You're off the hook.
Have you literally put that rule out there?
I haven't put it out there like verbally, but they
How
know.
old are they?
They're 5 and 3.
That's our core audience.
Right, 5 and 3, good.
And honorably discharged Marines.
That's your audience as well.
It's a weird mix,
Yeah.
but hard to advertise towards, but
It is.
it's a good group.
We found them. All right, so forgive my fascination with what I only know from media and alleged news magazine programming about the connection that does take place between twins. But so as you're getting this sense of we're individuals, we're not going to do the hacky stuff,
Right.
and getting a sense of who you are as individuals, there's the natural rivalry that exists between most siblings.
Sure.
You guys chose to work together.
Right.
So let's start with the early stages of that. In
How
terms
did
of
that come about?
the evolution, the genesis of, was it just an open mic? You got on stage together?
Oh, well, I mean, I think
crazy story.
it's a crazy story. It actually is like such a bizarre, especially from St. Louis. But I would say that the culture of the time definitely put it in our heads, which this is pre-fertility drugs. So twins
We're rare.
were more rare. It was
Yes.
just like a rare thing. If you saw twins, people were like, oh, hey, twins. They kind of do it now, but like when we were kids, it was always this. It was just
You
this
just
rare
got
thing.
attention. You just got
So
a lot of
immediately
attention.
you had attention, and we were like, okay, so now what do we do with it? So we have people's attention, and Dad would always make people laugh. And like I remember when we were kids, the movie Airplane came out, and our parents invited a bunch of friends over and their kids, and we all sat down and we had like a VCR because our
Sure.
uncle worked at an appliance store out in Orange County, and so we had like one of the first VCRs that they put it in, and we all sat around and watched it. And maybe it wasn't appropriate for 9-year-old kids to
Jiggling
watch
tits.
Jiggling
I mean,
Tits,
is
but
that part good for a kid?
nonetheless, we were like, this is hilarious. Our parents thought it was hilarious, and we think it's funny. So okay, we've got
Which, by the way, to this day, still think that's a hilarious movie.
Unbelievably-
Holds up on all levels. Funny
Yeah.
to a kid, funny to a teenager, hilarious to an adult,
As people
funny
that-
to comedians who are critical of comedy.
A great display of jiggling tits.
And
great display
jiggling
the jiggling tits
That's right.
definitely held up. But what we said was, okay, so now we've got people's attention. What are we going to do? So we started watching a ton of like stand-up while we got cable kind of early too. And we're watching, I remember like the one special that really, for us, was like a Rodney Dangerfield.
9th annual.
Young comedian special
Sure.
with Seinfeld, Robert Townsend,
Rita
Sam
Rudner
Kinison,
was in that
Rita
one.
Rudner,
Kinnison and
Bob Nelson,
Bob
Oh
Nelson.
my, physical comedy.
physical comedian.
Bob Saget.
Oh,
Saget, when
sure.
he was super edgy and weird and
Filthy,
interesting and
yeah.
filthy. And so it was like a great collection of these people who then went on to do many great things. But of course, we were enamored with Seinfeld, thought his writing and his material was fantastic. And we were like, we would then, we watched it, taped it, watched it over and over
Memorized.
again, memorized his bits. And then our parents' friends would invite their friends over to play bridge. And they'd be like, well,
So what's going on
what's
with
going
you
on with
guys?
you guys? And we'd be like, the shower radio, that's a bizarre.
Yeah, you got soap in the eye. You need the traffic report right then and there. Like all of a sudden, we're doing his bits. They're laughing because, of course, it's hilarious. This
And
is
how
like
old are
trying
you?
to material.
We're
like
9 or 10.
12 or 11.
So, like, again, things that you wouldn't expect these kids to sort of.
But
you know.
did one of you have to create the idea of why don't we do this?
No, I think we were both. And
This is
that's-
how you played.
that's
Yeah,
the
we
thing.
were very like we would go. Our parents would take us places, and or we'd be in the front yard playing catch back and forth for like hours. We would go and we'd do that, and there'd be 2 hours of us just. It was like amazing because here's someone who's exactly your level, exactly your speed, exactly your ability, back and forth, and then someone throws a ball overhead, and then we get into a huge fight, and then it's done a minute later. And so it was a very odd. It was a very odd thing, but
Like, I'll never forget, we were playing catch
yeah,
in the
this is
front
good.
yard. And
I overthrew him. It bounce off the driveway, off the front headlight of the car, in the
The German
driveway,
family next
right
to
next
us.
door. We run into the house. We go and hide in the basement, which is amazing because it's a German family next door, and we're hiding in the basement
somewhere,
as
right?
Jews. It's like the whole.
You passed on the
So we're
attic.
like,
Yes,
the police
attic. We didn't
come.
have an attic, but we would have been there. So
Police come.
I'm
fill
sorry,
out
the police
cops
come?
come.
Fill out
Because
because
there
there
was
was
a
a
headlight?
baseball size.
headlight, but ball's gone because it ricocheted back, and we took it back in the house. No one saw it. Police come. Obviously, they thought someone had vandalized their car.
You got the evidence.
No,
We've got the evidence
yeah,
in the
we're fine.
basement.
And they never found out. Then they never found out, and we never told them. And then we
You had this deep, dark secret.
Well, at the end of the weekend, we went back to college
because we were
because we were in college at
we
the
were
time.
home from school.
you buried the lead, there,
Yeah,
fellas.
sure.
We didn't put you at that age. I had him around 14.
the joke.
Anybody?
There was the joke.
and it was
see.
true. No, but we found we always had a way of playing with each other and playing together, which playing with each other's business. Did I make that? No.
So weird.
That's beautiful.
No, not at all. I think we.
That was the fascination I was looking for.
There you go, and that's what it is. And,
Have we had gay twins?
Is there such a
even
thing?
Have we not had gay twins?
And would they be
Ask-
gay with each other?
ask
Isn't that a
the,
whole different?
That would be incest gay twins.
I always felt like that when anybody says that I want to have a three-way with twins. We have a bit in our act, and it's like, really? That's you want? Because if they touch each other once, that's like an incestual. Like you're a part of something like that's so taboo and weird. You really want that?
Yeah.
So I want two people here, but like they're
need to be
both hot. They
related.
both need to be related, but I don't want them touching each other. I mean, I'm not in any of that shit. But it's like it just
weird-
feels so. Anyway.
But no, but what we're saying is that I feel like we learn to listen to each other at a young age. and
Trust
that's-
each other.
Trust each other.
Yeah.
Like know that person can deliver.
Hide evidence.
Hide
baseball
evidence.
from the
Hide
Germans.
baseball from the Germans.
Your first murder. Let's talk about that.
We worked at a gas. This was great, and we understood it too. We worked at a gas station. They wouldn't let us work at the same gas station because they felt like if I saw him stealing gas, I wouldn't report it. So
That's how it was
in the
explained to you?
pantheon-
Blood is thicker than
Blood
gas.
is thicker than
Is what
gas,
they're trying to-
apparently, is what
is what
If
they're
only
saying.
we'd spilled blood into
Yeah.
the Gulf of Mexico.
Be a whole different story. They wouldn't let us both work on it. Yes, we worked at different gas stations, and
I just think we kind of realized early on that people were watching us and people were paying attention to us and what do you do with it, and we loved comedy and we watched this stuff and would deliver other people's comedy. So the story, if I'm sorry,
Please.
I'm being so
No, no, no.
long-winded, but the story was that a friend of ours that we
in high
met
school.
in high school, we were like 15, a friend of ours who we had met through youth group was in Kansas City doing comedy sports, which was like improv in Kansas City, and there was a talent show at our high school, and we said, well, we're going to go up and do stand-up because we love it so much, and again, we loved it since for like the last couple of years.
Right.
And we went up and we did like other people's material,
and then
we
a little bit of our own stuff. A little.
wrote it, taped it, And then our friend in Kansas City said, I heard about this through Comedy Sports. There's this young comedian special that they're young, below 16, below the age of 16, that they wanted to do on the Disney Channel, that a production company had the idea. We didn't understand any of this, but a production company had the idea they were going to sell it to the Disney Channel and whatever. They're looking for people to submit tapes. Do you have anything?
Who is the Mark Price? Skippy
from
Family
who
Ties.
was discussed here last week when Justine Bateman was my guest.
Of course.
We talked nothing but Skippy.
Just an hour full of Skippy.
Yeah.
Skippy.
Mark Price this, Mark Price that.
Makes sense.
So is you against Mark Price?
No, he was to host.
Oh, of course.
And then they would gather like kids from around the country who were doing stand-up. And so he's like, send in your tape. And we were like, yeah, send in the tape. Like, who knows? We're 2 kids in St. Louis.
But then we're like, we'll never hear from them again.
Where'd you get the tape?
We made it at
from the talent show where we stole a bunch of material, and it was just us kind of doing our, not really doing our thing, but
You were literally doing
other people's material
from the young comedians.
or from other
much.
specials
From
that we
other
saw.
specials, like
we
Kenny
did like a Kenny Rogerson joke.
Yeah,
about
but you didn't do my Peter Falk.
No,
not
we
do your
could
Peter
not.
Falk.
Come on, we didn't say we were talented. We just said we could
we
steal
were
shit.
thieves. We weren't good at it.
So although I love the Falk, but we sent it in and thought nothing of it, and then 2 months later we get a phone call from this product, like LA.
We were doing a Marshall Falk impression, which is far less funny. Just a lot of
Especially
reception,
since he was not even at
lot
San
more-
Diego
a lot
State
of
yet.
all-purpose yards.
A lot more powerful thighs involved in that impression.
That was the key to nailing it. It's
Yes.
really
I had
understanding
the one eye
power of the
moving,
thighs.
and you guys had the
all
power
about the
thighs.
thighs.
Sure,
That's right.
sure, I understand.
All-purpose yards. So we got a call from this production company. I remember the name of it. I don't even know if they're still out here. Rubin and Core.
Sure.
Is the name of the production
I think
company.
they produced Nobody Remembers.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, great
I don't
show.
remember that. But they called us up and they're like, "Okay, we loved your tape.
Come to LA.
Well, they were like, "Look, we've
Look,
seen
you love your tape. You can't do other people's material.
Do you have any of your own?
Do you have
Yeah.
your own?
Go
up
to
to a comedy club." And then they proceeded to, in 20 minutes, give us notes on our comedy act that we wouldn't figure out for the next like 15 years.
Yeah.
Basically, like, you guys got to differentiate either if you want to go that route, differentiate your characters, or just separate
Right.
a little bit, or do something. They gave us a bunch of notes, and we're like, okay, we'll go up to our local comedy club. So we went up to a local comedy club, wrote all brand new stuff. It didn't do that well because we're 15. Like, who are you going to connect with, like a club
What are you,
audience?
Sam Levine? You can't be
Yeah,
expected to have an
Sam
act at
Levine.
that
There's
point.
only one Sam Levine. There's not 2, so or 3. So we, thank God. So we sent it off to them, and nothing ever came of it. I actually don't think they got the show off the ground, but like in that moment, we were like,
Hey.
oh, wait a minute! Out
Hey.
of the thousands of people who submitted here, there may be something. Now we then went to University of Michigan, and we applied to law school because that's what you did if pre-internet boom. If you were in the mid '90s,
You were a Jew, and
you were a Jew, and you didn't know what you wanted to do. You applied to law school.
And you didn't want to be a doctor.
No.
No, could not do
Smart.
science. I mean, it was all about like reading and writing and English and stuff like that. But
Yeah, but we were doing comedy through college, and that's sort of where and then we had we were huge fans of Andy Kindler.
Sure.
I don't know if you know him well,
Sure.
but I'm sure your audience does. Yeah,
Love him.
We loved him because he was the first comedian we saw who ever commented on the joke that he just did.
Yes.
And he did that a lot, and it sort of
the
became his
joke
thing.
that I'll never forget. This is I think he told it on like the A-list or something. Did you ever do the A-list or no? You were beyond.
I think it does ring a bell.
Sandra Bernhard
I think
hosted
my connection only was that I was asked to host it. I think
Right.
That's what I would have seen you doing in that
Yeah.
case.
Yeah, you were past it, but this was like good.
No, I remember it.
Up
I
and
remember
coming
the show,
people. But
yeah.
he did some joke about how like a crock pot. It was not that great of a joke, but the joke afterwards was hilarious. He's like, crock pot, yeah, it's great. I'll if I want to eat 17 hours from now, I'll get a cracker. And then he was like, and that wasn't that funny. But then he was like, 8 years of mime school, and I still open the cabinet into my face. I was like, we were like, what? We were like, wait, rewind that.
Wow,
What?
wow.
What?
And
he
it-
just hit a joke about the joke, and it was.
But people weren't really doing that, and we were like, wait a minute, this could be what comedy is? And
Right.
like, you can break down what you just said and what you did, and that was a real eye-opening moment for us. And so went to see him.
Did you argue who would tell the joke and who would
Who would break it down? Exactly. That'd be great. I get to do it this time. You get to do it next time.
You're going to stink first, and then I'm going to come home and bring it home.
and
Drop it home. I will set it up for you.
I'm the saver.
That's right. Exactly.
So we went to see Andy Kindler in college. We were in St. Louis, and he came and did like a New Year's show. And the show, I think Andy would probably tell you, was not a phenomenal show. There were drunk people on New Year's. St. Louis, it's not the people that would be there to enjoy his stuff, except for us and our friends, and we're dying, and we knew every word, and we were laughing. After the show, we come up to him, we're like, that was great. And now being someone who goes out and performs in clubs, if you don't have a good show.
I just can imagine him like people coming up to him after a show like that and being like, "You were awesome!" Like we would probably be like, "What
show did you see?"
Yeah,
we said,
you idiot.
We'd love to bring you. We go to the University of Michigan. We'd love to bring you. We host a show there and have you headline at the, get you paid and whatever. And he was like, "Great, I can't." In a million years, he probably would have never thought that he would have gotten a booking off of that show that he just did.
Right.
But he gets it, and so he comes to the University of Michigan, and we'd already applied to law school and gotten in, and
Different law schools.
We were ready, set to. He was going to go to Emory in Atlanta. I was going to go to George Washington in D.C. I was like ready to go, not excited about it, but like this is what we got to do. And
because we didn't think
you were breaking up the act.
Yeah, but we didn't think you could make money on this. Like
Right.
like
again from St. Louis,
no template, nobody saying try this, you should go for it. So we brought Andy and we said we're going to open for you. Will you watch us and just tell us if you think it's worth our while to pursue this at all? So did the show. He had a great show. That show was packed, did really well. College kids connected with everything he said. We took him out for pancakes afterwards. We sit him down. We're like, all right, you saw us. What do you think? And he was so honest, and he had he not. I mean, this is one of those moments where it's like your life either goes this way or this way. Had he bullshitted us, or had he been in a bad mood and not liked anything we said, our lives we wouldn't be doing this. He basically
we don't have a lot of lawyers on this show.
No, well there you go. And so he basically said, you guys definitely have something. There's something funny in there.
I think you're funny guys. You're going to have to lose all your material.
Scrap everything.
And start over and write brand new stuff. But if you do that and you stay committed to it and you stay what makes you funny in the way that we are laughing right now, hanging out, you'll be on TV by the time you're 25. That's what I think. And that was all we needed to hear. Went home that night, called our parents, were like, we're going to defer law school for a year. That was like the safest crazy jump off a ledge we could say was like, if it doesn't work out in a year, we'll move to. And Andy was like, you got to move to New York or San Francisco or LA.
Yes.
So we moved to New York.
But I think it was the fact that he said, I think you got to get rid of all your material. Like just by including that detail made us believe him.
Right.
On all counts.
Absolutely.
Because he wasn't
blowing, so he wasn't like, yeah, go do it. You guys are great.
Yeah.
He was like, you're good.
Everything you just said stinks.
Right.
But the way you said it,
I love it.
yeah.
Which is what you have going for you.
Yeah.
And
no,
so,
I remember in my early days, an early mentor said, your stage presence is insane for how young you are. I was 20. He said, your stage presence is like a seasoned 50-year-old.
Right.
And when your material catches up to your stage presence,
Right.
you're going to be unstoppable.
That's
There's one way of saying your
great.
material stinks. You need to get rid of it.
Which you get there to that point.
Yeah.
And he was so right. And he helped us even when we moved to New York. He kind of got us in, and we lucked out in that alternative comedy started booming as we started to rewrite all the stuff that we were doing, and then we jumped into that wave when it really exploded, like in the mid-90s. And he was there to kind of help get us in.
He was a part of that scene too. He was one of those people that kind of lived in both worlds. Like he came to New York to do Conan that night, but then
and took us out to Governors to open up, do a guest set. That's as mainstream comedy club as you can get.
Yeah.
And then he would go down and he performed at this show called The Rebar, which was...
It was called Eating It.
Eating It, but it was at The Rebar, which was on 16th and 8th, right? It was kind of down from where we lived. And
that night, it was crazy.
That was another eye-opening night.
One of those nights. It was Jeff Ross was hosting. Mm-hmm. Liz Winstead, creator of The Daily Show and great comics, she was on the show.
Michael Black.
Was Sarah on the show? Sarah Silverman?
She may have been on the show. Toby Haas. Who else was on the show? Sam Cedar and John Benjamin. And again, we had been, comedy in the late 80s and 90s. It was like expansion baseball. Mm-hmm. So there were 4 clubs in Iowa City, and you're like, how are they going to fill these and have headliners? Well, anybody who
was a feature suddenly became a headliner.
Oh, absolutely.
And so the level of comedy, and then everyone had comedy on TV. So when A&E has comedy on TV, you're like,
someone better fucking get murdered on this show.
It's
Or else
it's
I'm not
the
watching
same
this
thing
comedy
that
show.
killed vaudeville. Actually, there
Yes.
was a saturation point.
And so what happened was the backlash was that these alternative sort of rooms popped up
Because it got to a point where if you went into a comedy club, you saw a comedian you'd never seen before, it was a fat black woman, you knew we could just do her act.
Right.
You could just be like, get off the stage, I know exactly what you're going to talk about. And it just sort of, anyone who kind of had an angle was suddenly on stage doing the same jokes.
So we came to this show that Kindler invited us to. He was on the show too, and it was just like a U shape of couches, maybe 15, 20, maybe 30 people were there.
Wow.
And Liz Winstead tells this incredibly personal story about an abortion and starts crying for real, but is funny throughout it. Like, it was sad and brilliant and funny. And Jeff Ross was Jeff Ross, but he was telling jokes looser and telling jokes in a way that like really playing off the audiences, and the way that he's amazing in the roasts and amazing when you're just hanging out with him. And then Sam Cedar comes up and does a whole bit where he is campaigning to be the president of the show, president of Rebar, almost like and then John Benjamin heckles him out of the crowd and says, I'm running for, and it becomes like a thing. And again, we were sitting there going, oh my God, this is comedy?
Yeah, all of a sudden the box that you were inside a comedy, the walls blew out
Yeah.
and you're like,
And what it said to us was, again, going back, is that as twins, you don't have to do twin material. You don't have to rely on that. And
Please don't.
please don't. Let's go in the opposite direction.
Right.
Let's be two guys where
Go up stage and pretend you don't know each other.
Well, yes.
That's funny.
There you go.
That was an act. Why did we not do that?
Why have we not done that?
Man, you look familiar.
Yeah.
How do
Who are
I,
you?
You know how when you audition and everybody looks the same?
I went out for a commercial. This guy's out for it, and all of a sudden, no. But yeah,
more vodka?
Sure.
Anybody?
Sure, why not?
Please?
I mix water and Coke.
I can mix water and
Sure
cherry
you can.
Coke. So the bottom line is that it really gave us the sort of the go ahead
Nope, you good.
just to try stuff that wasn't.
Yeah, well, you were also, as you said, at the precipice of a new era of comedy.
Did you read the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell?
You are the 17th person who insists I must read this book.
I think it's
You
just
should read it because you've lived it.
You
in
should
some
stop
way.
with the pressure.
Okay. Well,
Read the book. And then I'll stop.
again with the tone.
Read the book.
And then we'll stop with the pressure. It's a great book only because it talks about factors outside of a person just being able to pull themselves up for the bootstraps and and there's no self-made man or woman. Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and
It's no coincidence that they were born like within a few months of each
They're
other.
born a few months from each other, which meant that when they were 15, 16 in high school, about to go into college, they all lived near college campuses where they had access to mainframe computers that normal people wouldn't, and they got into this thing where they could just work like all the time and learn about computers to a point. So they all like had all this experience. I feel like we benefited from being at the right place at the right time.
In New York in 1995 when Janine Garofalo was exploding from Reality Bites, when David Cross and Mr. Show and Bob Odenkirk and those guys were the hippest, coolest thing, in comedy, alongside everything else. It was a movement, and so we got to suddenly jump in, like when Amy Poehler and the rest of Upright Citizens Brigade came to New York.
Right.
I remember them doing like bits in like these shows, this Eating It show weekly.
Amazing.
Sarah Silverman and like all these people. All of a sudden, you had this sort of thing where all these people are like, you know what? We're not going to go into the comedy club right now. We're going to go downtown to a theater. We're going to do. A lot of mainstream comics were like, oh, it's alternative. It's alternative to comedy. Like, it's not funny.
Sure.
There are no jokes.
Right.
Couldn't be further from the truth. Definitely in some cases, but like there are some cases where
There was one time where we went up there and the guy, do you remember the guy who came on stage during Dylan was it at the Grammys?
Soy Bomb.
Soy Bomb. His name was Michael Portnoy. He was a downtown performer at the time. There was one time I saw him go on stage and he took a carrot and stuck it in and out of his ass while he sang "Go Down Moses." All right, that's not laden with jokes, okay? That's not something you would see
a heavily written bit.
See at Uncle Funny's out in the Quad Cities. But I mean, look, it was part of it. I mean, it shades the outer edges, and then that opens the door for you to like take and tell a story that maybe takes 10 minutes to set up, and then the payoff is just fantastic. Where at a comedy club, people would be rustling around, and that's the end.
Yeah.
That was very lucky for us, and that was a huge.
Well, what is the luck is something meeting opportunity? Is it talent? Is it creativity meeting
Preparation
meeting
and
opportunity? But it is all about those moments in time where you're either in that exact space.
Yeah.
In this case, New York, in those
In the
rooms.
mid '90s, absolutely.
I'll give you a perfect example if you'd like.
Sure, let's hear it.
Please.
I did a wildly short-lived summer series back when there was no original programming during the summer in 1991, and it was a summer series, which would be 6 shows that were created by Chris Guest and Rob Reiner, called Morton and Hayes, this comedy team from the 30s that no one ever saw because it was on CBS. If it were on HBO or Comedy Central, it might have had a shot. Comedy Central, I'm not sure, existed in '91, but because I was Rob Reiner's face every single day working on that series that no one would ever see and nothing would ever come of it, I was in his face, though, having lunch with him and working with him every day when he was casting A Few Good Men. And then one day on the set, he said, you know, I'm doing this movie. It was a Broadway play, big hit, and I got Tom Cruise, and I think we're going to get Nicholson. And there's this part of Cruise's co-counsel that you're kind of perfect for.
Amazing.
I have an offer out to Jason Alexander, but if Seinfeld gets picked up for a second season, he's not going to be available.
Unbelievable.
If I was not having lunch and working with Rob every day, he
had to be
wouldn't
there.
have thought of me in a million years, completely changed the outcome.
Well,
of my
but
life.
I'm going to take it one step further. I'm going to say,
I'm sorry, we're out of time.
Okay.
Thanks.
We'll be back next week with. All right, one step further. I'm sorry.
One step further is you did the work and you prepared and you did well, I'm assuming, in the show, and you impressed him enough to
The
feel
auditioning process for Morton and Hayes was the single most arduous, insane 3-month period ever. There's no question I earned my place into being
you
in
earned
front
your
of
place
his
at
face.
the table.
So
Literally,
he's-
you earned your place at the table.
And so he was a fan. I mean,
So-
and I feel like that's, I mean, maybe,
That wasn't in front of his face clearing his dishes at lunch every day. You're right. I had, in fact, earned some sort of regard in his mind. And
Right.
Yes, but
that he was a fan.
So you could say I helped to create that destiny,
You
which is what I'm a
absolutely created
big believer in.
I agree.
My latest mantra that I'm shoving in everyone's faces, which is if you're not creating, you're waiting. And you know, which is the next thing I want to talk to you guys about in terms of diving into the internet with original content and one of the explosive Streamy Award winners, 2010. Let me, if you don't mind, involve our wonderful audience because they've been waiting patiently to ask their own damn questions. If and you don't mind.
I'd love it. I love the interactive nature of this.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like a clunkier radio show.
Have you- Are you familiar with the Tweet 5? This is a rapid fire
Yes.
5
Yes.
questions, this or that, Coke or Pepsi. We have some sort of graphic for the Tweet 5. His name is Dave Keckner, and he was on the show and couldn't
I love
stop
Keckner.
repeating Tweet 5, so we made this.
T5!
T5, T5, T5 forever now.
And I love
Why
that
is he trying to, like, usurp your hat?
Number one. And the other thing is, correct me if I'm wrong, but he called it Teat 5 a couple of times.
T5.
Oh, T5.
Just the letter T.
I thought he
said
said teat.
teat
Like we're
five,
suckling
like
from the teat.
Suckling from the
that is
teat
the internet.
of social networking.
Wow.
I
hat away from
I need rapid fire answers from both at the same time.
That's
There's
gonna-
no checking with each
No,
other.
no.
No one answer and then the other.
But we
Let's-
could discuss why we were not the same, but let's go. Let's,
Yeah.
Why are you giving him the
T5.
rules?
Okay, ready?
Yes.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee, all the
Tea.
way. All the
Tea.
way, coffee.
Tea.
I needed to clean me out.
I don't need coffee, and I'll tell you why tea. Because we used to go to this place, Dr. T. Mr.
Dr. T. Dr. T.
It's
Mr.
like
T is he's a bejeweled, he's a bejeweled black man.
Yes, the visual.
Dr. T is
Dr.
someone-
T had a place, and he would make something called a cappuccino,
Stop it.
made out of tea,
All right.
and I loved it.
Next one. T5.
Cappuccino. We're going to move on from there. Cheap seats or behind home plate?
Cheap seats,
seats
all the way. No,
No,
not
they-
even a question. That is.
Yes, I mean
That's where you have to see the
Did
game.
they do like endless hot dogs behind home plate? No, you got to pay
Did they
for
serve
everything.
sushi in the bleachers? Well, at some places they do.
Actually, probably they do. In Seattle, they probably do. In Seattle, they do.
Ichiro, the Ichiro.
iPhone or Droid?
iPhone. Oh my God.
Even though we, as we discussed, I hate that they've gone through to with AT&T for longer.
Here's the thing, and we won't beleaguer it too much because everyone is on the we hate AT&T. But as I travel the country, I don't know if you found it too. I had a thing in my act now just to sort of test the market around the country. It's everywhere. And yet their nationwide billboard, of course, is fewest drop calls. It's as if they had a meeting and said, what would be true in opposite world?
Well,
And then put this campaign together.
Exactly.
Literally.
Yes.
Well, yesterday I was down.
Take the weak. I mean, they would say take the weakest part of your
Yes.
argument and make it the strongest.
It's like the Republicans. No, No, but I literally started to download a map of where AT&T gets coverage yesterday, and I think it's still downloading. So we should find that out in a couple days.
And I got a new app for my iPhone which helps you drop calls quicker. So it actually is an app where you can drop a call.
That's great.
Yeah, we have a similar joke because I have been on stage now saying I've just created a new app I'm very, very excited about, and I set it up as if it's real, and I say, and the app allows you to make a call. All right.
Way funnier.
Bubblegum or baked Alaska?
Oh, baked Alaska. Can you light it on fire? Can you light bubblegum's great. That's where
By
you're
yourselves or with an entourage?
by yourselves. By yourselves.
I feel like
But you enjoyed being on
no,
entourage.
I enjoy being on
Love being
Entourage.
on Entourage.
I feel like our families, and I love my family, they're like our entourage.
Right.
Because your kids, they don't do anything. They
cost-
live or
they
die.
cost a lot of
cost a lot
money.
of money. They live or die on your success. I mean, at least Turtle drove. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
At least Johnny Drama's making breakfast. So, and then these guys.
Kids
they're-
were originally,
Yeah, they sleep all day. They hang out. They take your money.
The original notion was that you had them so they would work the lower 40.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, so you need to succeed a little more to get a lower 40.
That's right.
And then you put them to work.
You need to get them.
Comedy Central, HBO.
Oh.
Do you have cable?
I do, and I watch HBO more. I have to say, I just do. I'm like, we're sports fans and a huge fan of I think
24/7
24/7 is the greatest show
Do you
ever
watch the
put
show?
together.
I've seen it, yeah.
It's just incredible that they put a whole documentary that basically could take years to put together every week.
Yeah.
It's just incredible.
Best shot. I mean, and my son's name is Liev, not because of Liev Schreiber, but he narrates all of their sports stuff and makes it feel timeless, and it's beautiful. I love.
And I think Liev Schreiber in an interview one time said he wished that his name was Scott.
Yes.
Because of all the shit he got for being called Liev. So nice.
excited.
That's good.
Way to hang that on your son.
It's gonna make him
But I would
tougher.
say
It's gonna
HBO.
make him tougher.
That's right.
HBO.
Boy named Sue.
This is just a comment, so I'll just ask you what you think of it. People are saying that the Ask Kevin jingle that we played earlier sounds like Ass Kevin.
Ask Kevin.
We played it twice. Did it cross either of your minds?
Ass, very soft K. There's a soft K in there.
In this, yeah, I would.
Very soft K, which is the name of my third book.
Very soft.
Very soft. Okay, Kevin by Kevin Paulette.
I mentioned at the top that Jamie, of course, is in the Walt Disney World overlooking Magic Mountain somehow. And in her place is Corey Levin. Corey has forwarded me just information, really, not questions for my guests.
It's great.
So thank
Love
you
that we
for
drummed
that.
up that much interest.
Yeah.
Wow.
Let's see
lines
if
are
I
really lighting up.
have a question from Twitter here. Yes, this one. This is from @KATYKK. I'm not going to try.
Okay.
How do they feel regarding the passing of Ronnie James Dio, and will they be seeing the new film about Boy George? Very specific questions.
Ronnie James Dio.
Have you just gathered your opinions about
I
this
need
in the
a
last
second.
17 minutes?
I need a second. I didn't know.
This just happened today.
Yeah, I did not know Dio had died. That's today. That's new news.
So I guess
Yeah.
we got to stop doing the bit.
Wow. Dio. We have a whole
Why
bit
is-
about Dio.
A whole bit about
I don't
Dio.
think you have to. I don't think you have to.
No,
stop
you don't have
doing
to
that.
stop doing it. Maybe it's been more current now.
Yeah, it's in honor.
What's the
Ronnie
bit?
James Dio was just a small. Just
I think you have to do the bit in honor. In honor.
Is this a show where you would do bits?
Do you do bits on this show?
It's not, but we just asked a very specific question about the unbelievably recent passing, and I think now our audience, you gave a few crumbs here that there's an actual
The bit
bit.
was about classic rock.
It doesn't have to be performed, but maybe just discussed.
But it was about classic rock, how classic rock radio station, it's a very performative bit. How classic rock radio stations, they have the pageantry, wasn't that it? What, I'm
blanking on now
I'm
the bit,
blanking
how
on
we
it.
get into it.
That Ronnie James Dio, that they have the crazy commercials, right? Ronnie James Dio is back.
I love that you both forget the bit.
I know, Ronnie James Dio is back.
It'd be nice if the other one could fill in the
He's
blank.
back, right?
Ronnie James Dio, back in the 70s, he used to...
Rocked you with Black Sabbath. This Friday night, he welcomes the Sabbath at Temple Beth Shalom.
Just an indication that...
This is where he is. Services at 8:30,
Dio
Dio
at
at 9:30. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, holy diver. You know, it's like... It's,
for those, it's one of those things where we're commenting on where he is.
basically, we're here. It was off of a Where Are They Now?
Yes, it was the thing where they...
Now we know where he is.
We know where he is. He's
dead.
doing that. He's finished.
Yeah.
But that saddens me because I feel like as he dies, so goes classic rock and a whole portion of
Yeah, he. I mean, as a little guy too. I mean, we're little guys. We're not tall. Dio was like, what is he, like 5'1"?
Dio's about 5'1".
He's small.
He was
And
five foot nothing.
He was 5'0". He was fantastic in the Tenacious D movie. He was amazing. I mean, I love that he had a sense of humor about himself, and he was in Black Sabbath, for Christ's sake.
Right. Well, there's a very obscure question and beautifully answered.
Thank you.
When are the Sklar brothers getting their own radio show? The Rock when filling in for Jim Rome. They rock when filling in for Jim Rome.
That's a great question.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and I'm glad that we are in talks right now. We did like a. First of all, whenever we get to fill in for Jim Rome, it is fantastic. He gives us the keys to his car for 3 hours.
Holy
and
crap!
It's
How long have you been
fantastic.
doing that?
We do it like
We've been doing it for a few years.
maybe like 4 or 5 years, and like he goes out, basically takes a lot of vacation because he can, and then he has people fill in, and we're in the group of people that fill in. We don't fill in every time.
Sure.
But it's great because we just do the show we want to do. We
What
say
an
it's gotta
amazing
be,
opportunity.
Yeah, it's 3 hours of us doing. How would we approach a sports show? Like, and it's all the comedy, weird things that have happened in sports this last time we've been on, and it is really, it becomes a discussion. It'd be more like this if sports was woven throughout.
So it's a blast, and we do that. And then from that, we had done like a 6-week comedy residency on Sirius Radio on Raw Dog, which is basically the Sklar Brothers Sports Comedy Hour without Manute Bull or whoever we were this week, without without Ryan James Dio. And we would do an hour of, again, it was sort of an hour of the 3 hours we would do. And that was really successful, but Sirius kind of, they're in their, we would love to do a show there. They're kind of been like, we want you to do it, but we gotta, you're waiting, you're not creating. And so in that
That's such a great, the fact that you said that, it fits exactly.
So we were kind of saying, we should do a podcast. We really should just start doing a sports comedy podcast.
Absolutely.
Especially with Sirius, not everyone can get Sirius, which is kind of a bummer.
And with and again, it's all kind of like with Twitter. We sort of have built up our Twitter followers up this year up to about 40,000. We have a goal to try and get to 100,000. That's so lofty, but even 75 by the end of the year. And we're trying to build it brick by brick. Whenever we write a tweet, we want people to retweet it, and that's how we get people. And so I feel like the people that are following us for a reason. It's not like they just jumped on because they heard about it. They actually are following because of our comedy. So we're hoping that out of that group of people, we can promote to do a podcast.
Do we have a lower
podcast.
third of their Twitter account name? It's at Sklar Brothers.
Twitter.com, at Sklar Brothers.
But yeah, so we are going to, soon there will be a sports comedy.
So right now we're in talks to do a sports comedy podcast, and we don't know where it's going to actually, because it might be under an umbrella of other podcasts and whatnot. So the deal's not done yet, but we're talking to some people, and I would say in the next month and a half we'll be up and running with that.
The studio's an interesting space in case you wanted to do a visual
This studio.
version of your.
Have you interviewed Charlie Rose?
We'll talk later.
Had you done that here?
I need to interview Charlie Rose here just so that we can be like, wait,
Whose show is
what
this?
show is this? Is he doing him?
And he would sit on his side.
on his side, and that's your side. You're like, wait a
The
minute.
very first time we did the show, episode 1, I sat over there.
And it was like
And
two
because the
Charlie.
way the camera was set up, we would have the guests sitting in chairs behind you guys during the opening piece that I would do to this camera. And then LeVar Burton had to crawl on his belly to get over into the chair. So we thought we better switch things first.
Is that racist?
It was racist until Sam Levine also did it in that same show, and then it became human.
That's right. Okay, good.
Because we have made everyone do it. Let's go to another tweet 5, if and you're of mine.
Let's do it. Ready.
The earlier, there we go. Thank you, Dave Keckner. T5 forever now. Teat 5. That earlier one, by the way, was from @Voyager CSL. No, that was
That's you.
Why I oughta. Wait. Okay, so this tweet 5 is from @Redisk.
I love how it's not in a different language.
I know.
And yet,
I know.
Pollock is having such a hard time.
Rediske.
I went to see the movie
Red
Pollock.
disc.
I went to see the movie Pollock, and I was really disappointed that it wasn't an hour and a half just concert of you doing your
Stand up. Have you thought about that?
What movie? What?
Pollock?
Oh, Pollock.
Yeah.
Jesus. I thought you were saying my name to me in the sentence.
No.
You want to know what's hilarious?
I went to the movie,
I was
Pollock.
in some movie the year that Pollock came out where people were talking about seriously, they were talking with such
How good Pollock was?
focus. No, prior to the announcements. But that same year, people were in my face. You know what? This movie might get nominated, and there might be some. And sure enough, I literally had that moment where when I turned on the radio and got more, just when I started my car and the radio came on, it was Pollock nominated for. I swear to God. Yeah, they got me. They got me beautifully. I went, no, it couldn't be that. Yeah.
Damn you, Marcia Gay Harden.
Yeah, exactly. So Reddisk. Beer or hard liqueur?
Oh.
Beer or liquor?
Beer. We're Jews.
What kind of beer do you like? Do you have a favorite?
I do. I'm kind of like, there's a brand, Fat Tire, that I've just been into, and I love that they sell it in a can.
Oh,
like
do they?
Fat Tire in a can.
Oh, my.
There's just like, again, there's a can aspect. I mean, we should say Budweiser to support, but again, they got sold to InBev, so.
I like a Red Stripe.
Uh-huh.
Call me Jamaican, but I like it.
Yeah.
It's light.
I felt Jamaican when you walked in with the shirt and the jacket.
You felt like your chicken was jerked a little bit.
Hello.
I'll be over here.
Right over.
Uh-huh.
That was a nice little belch. Houseboat or apartment? Did you live in a houseboat?
No, but I think a houseboat would quite conceivably be the worst place to live ever. I just can't even imagine it. I would get so...
I need to take a Dramamine because of that tweet. That's how sick I feel.
There's your
That's
answer.
how easy.
There you go. So apartment would probably be the thing. But a houseboat is just crazy.
Haiti or Chile? Who are you pulling for?
I am pulling for Haiti. I'm pulling for Haiti, a little closer to home.
I've been to Chile. And
I should tell your story about Chile.
I went to Chile, and
Was it cold?
It was a little nippy, and I went down there with my wife. It was a 21-day trip. It was basically our honeymoon. We did it a year after we got married, and the first day of a 21-day trip, we go to wineries. And the wine is amazing. I love it. I can't believe how good it is. I'm like, this is what we have to, and we're getting drunk, and we're like, we gotta get these for people to bring back bottles, because that's a great gift. Real Chilean wine. My wife was like, we're gonna carry it for 21 days. Do you really wanna carry wine that long? I'm like, where else are we gonna get it? Let's do this. I convince her. We get a bunch of bottles, carry them for 21 days. It's so heavy. It was the dumbest decision on its own. Then come back, give bottles to him, to my neighbor. This is Chilean wine, special Chilean wine from.
Went to the winery, the whole story.
I tell the whole
I
story.
carried it for 21 days.
There on my back. 2 days later, I'm at Trader Joe's.
No, don't say it.
Look to my right.
Don't do it.
$4.99.
Oh, no.
There's that damn wine.
It's so that is stuff you cannot make up.
$4.99.
That's beautiful.
$4.99.
Next time you go on the 3 week trip, maybe not carry all the luggage.
I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't know why I made my rolling suitcase a backpack. But
rolled
it
it.
still
Could've
made
rolled it,
I
but
could have rolled it.
You went
put
to
it on
university in Chile.
Yeah, it was weird.
Traveling through Chile via Eurail.
And to finish that, lastly, of the tweet 5, cougar or sugar daddy? Which do you prefer being?
Which do I prefer being?
I think is really the question. Which do you prefer,
I prefer
being? A cougar or a sugar daddy?
I want to be a cougar.
Cougar, because they don't have to financially support anyone.
God, if I didn't have to financially support
Sugar daddy,
anything,
you're just paying.
you're paying for stuff. A cougar just is, you get to reap the
theirs.
benefits. Right? Or no?
We're talking about a Mercury cougar.
Like a Mercury, like a Mercur.
Yes.
All right, so let's talk about the internet goings on, because you guys, as I mentioned, won the Streamy for the best branded show called Back on Tops. I kept thinking Top of the Pops or Pop of the Tops, and my head was exploding.
Right.
Back on Tops. And how did that? What's the origin there? What's the genesis of this project? It's pretty fascinating for those of us in the original content internet world.
Yeah, I
We
mean,
were doing our show Cheap Seats on ESPN Classic, which was a sports comedy show, and we had a meeting with a guy who had worked with our friend who had written best-selling novels.
Brad Meltzer is his
Meltzer's
name.
our friend.
He's written like, Clancy-esque novels that were like
10th Justice and Zero Game and a bunch of stuff. And then they teamed up and were co-creators of a show called Jack and Bobby, which was the
Christine
Kennedys.
Lottie, like the Kennedys.
In high school. It was a great show, but short-lived on TV. And then that guy, Steve, who worked with our friend Brad, then went to work for Michael Eisner.
After Eisner left Disney and kind of went out rogue and went on his own.
So
Start killing people.
Started killing people.
Started assassinating people
Yeah.
right away.
He went rogue. He became the governor of Alaska and then quit. No, so he and Michael wanted to meet with us because they were starting to get involved with stuff. I think they were thinking about buying the Topps baseball card company.
Wow.
Eisner saw Topps as like a brand that we all knew and that could be sort of brought forward like, you know, Bazooka Joe, I think, was even like
Yeah,
character that he thought was like a tentpole character. So he bought Topps. They met with us and they said, and this is after we had then done a web series called Layers with Nick Kroll, who was on your show.
The one where he was an agent?
He played an agent who represents agents, and
Right.
we played his publicist.
Right.
And so the show was the most meta show ever about how we had sold a web show to Super Deluxe, which is what it was on.
Right.
And so it was all about how our two characters were trying to make the show really popular.
So that he would then find agents, because agents look for new talent on the web, and so they'll see you and they'll want to be represented by
It was
you.
the most confusingly meta situation ever, even to describe it.
Even to describe
I
it,
don't
it
know what
makes
it
no
was,
sense.
but it was.
I passed out just a little.
Yeah,
But it was really, it was really fun. And
By the way, that's the new. I have a little vomit in my throat.
I passed out
I
just
passed out just a little.
just a little.
Let that be the new one. I just realized it as I said it. Oh
That's
gosh.
the new
I
throw up
passed
in
out-
my mouth.
I
Okay.
passed out just a little in my throat. So we did Layers, and we had the
Cheap seats. We had the
seats.
sports cred. They bought Topps. Then they said, "Come have a meeting with Michael Eisner at his house in Bel Air." I was like, "Yeah." And so, come on a Saturday. Come meet him and
Stop saying come.
come a lot, come hard, come quickly, and then and be there. And so yeah, just be there and let's pitch.
You went.
And
So when we talked to
came,
him, we came.
and
Jay's car.
oh yeah, my car.
This is so great.
What?
This is so great.
So,
No.
So
we
we
get
go to leave.
we get into we pitch this whole idea for the show. We talk about our philosophy. We pitch the whole thing. My Prius is in his. He has a Prius too. Randy, like right after the meeting, is like, "I'm gone. Shh, I got to take care of my kids. It's a Saturday. How am I doing a meeting? Why would anyone want to do anything on a weekend when you have kids?" So he's like, "All right." So Randy leaves. I'm left there, and my car won't start. Dead. We just had this great meeting. Eisner's back in his house. I'm in his driveway, fenced off. Like, I don't know how to get through the fence. It's like a fortress. I'm stuck in the fortress. I'm like, how weird would it be if I slept here tonight?
That was the fortress of
Yeah,
solitude.
it was- that's right.
I was like, I could sleep in my car. I considered sleeping in my car that night until the next morning when he left, and then following him out. So, but then it was a disaster. I have to go back to his house, knock on the door, and say, "Hey, great meeting 10 minutes ago, huh? How about I call AAA? Call AAA.
Wait at your house.
45 minutes. Sit at a guy I just met, Michael Eisner.
That's a dream. It's
Crazy.
like a dream.
It could not have been the worst, most awkward moment. And so then
You go back into his office, and he doesn't know how to operate his universal remote.
the universal remote to turn on the TV in the main room. So then we go back into his office, and fortunately this other guy, Steve, was there, so it wasn't like just me and him sitting on a couch. But we sat and watched the Angels game, and actually it was fine. Then they came and they fixed the car. Originally he wanted to like start working on my car to fix it, and I was like, if you die in my car,
Oh, my God.
I don't want to read that in Variety.
No.
You know,
Did he
that's not-
take you at all a tour on the house?
I kind of walked through the house. It was
But
beautiful.
you knew that there were wings that you just didn't see.
Yeah, there are parts that I didn't
Like,
see.
You didn't get to see Mickey in the dog crate.
No.
Because I don't think that's apocryphal. I think he really does have Mickey in a dog crate, because I'd heard that.
There was a dog. What did we see on Sky
Are you
Mall?
serious with this?
Yeah.
What the fuck? Come on now. That's enough already. Throw me a bone. You got the platinum parachute. I can't believe I'm still in here. Coke, anything. You cocksuck.
Isn't there a thing in Sky Mall magazine, like a little side
Oh,
table?
this is my favorite thing. A little side in the Sky Mall magazine, a little side table, an end table that goes on the side of your couch that is also a dog crate.
A cage.
A cage you can put your dog
Like people
in.
were going,
then the
you know
Pepsi
what?
on top.
Yeah, people were going, you know what? I need an end table. This end table goes perfect in my living room.
But you cannot
Can I-
entrap an animal
Is
in
there a
it.
way that I
So-
can incarcerate an animal in it?
there-
I can't, then I
There's
don't
no-
want it.
I can put books under there, but does the shelf come out so I can stick like a Saint Bernard in there and uncomfortably?
While I'm watching TV, I want to hear the cries of my dog that wants to get out. Don't you? I don't know how to understand how
I
people
want to
don't
put
know
a
that.
cold drink over an
my-
Irish setter while he's painfully.
Or again, if I may, I want
So you're
Mickey.
saying, I want Mickey
in the
in
cage
there.
while I'm watching
So
the
you're
Disney.
saying that Pottery Barn, that you don't do that.
You don't have that.
I'll wait for till I fly next time. I'll get it at Sky Mall. But so it was great. Anyway, to get back to the thing, he had bought Topps for an exorbitant amount of money and wanted to sort
And
of.
they liked Layers. He had seen Layers, and he liked Cheap Seats, and so they kind of wanted some sort of slightly meta situation that dealt with sports in a comedy way. So we pitched them the idea that we played the fictitious Topps brothers.
Like it was a family business.
Right.
Our uncle Marvin Topps was going to give us the company, and at the last minute, he found it more profitable to sell it to Michael Eisner. So. And I remember Eisner really did not want to.
Oh, he did not want to be in it.
He was so smart. It's like you don't question. We were like, oh, come on, this will be really funny and this will be really great.
It'll be great for you to be in it. It would be awesome if we could even have you in the thing for a minute. He's like, I don't want to be in it. I actually don't want my name to be in it. And we're like, we fought hard because he's like, I'll get slammed by somebody. And we were like, you're not going to get slammed.
Trust us, it'll be fine. And then, the way we kind of resolved it in the show was that we were Michael Eisner. He was too busy. He was off doing other things.
He said he was off trying to put a deal together to buy time, and they're like, the magazine? No, the concept. Right. So he's a wealthy man.
we need a father figure on the show. We need a Michael Eisner. I called someone from the phone book. It turns out
the guy he called.
The closest Michael Eisner who lived to us was actually
black.
Phil Lamar.
He
was black, and so he
Black
Eisner, a Bleisner,
who became Bleisner, and then he became sort of the black guy. Bleisner.
And this was in 2008 when Obama was running. We're like, it's time. America's finally ready for a black Eisner. We're ready as a country. But so it wound up being great, and then of course. Hollywood Reporter gives it actually a phenomenally nice review. The only thing they just took tremendous issue with, like, Michael Eisner.
Why does he
this
have
narcissistic son of a bitch?
He has to put himself in this thing. And I was
everything.
like, why? That's classic not asking the question, assuming journalism. We're like, he actually didn't want to do it, and we forced him.
But he was right. In the end, what we realized is that he was right. But anyway, they basically wanted us to do this thing. And the series, we said, look, we'll do this if it's content-driven. Like, we are not going to stump for or sell anything. Like, we are going to create a situation that, like, okay, the office that we're in is Topps. So we have interaction with athletes and stuff, and we're going to make ourselves look like idiots. So Topps is not going to look great in this. And that's the only way we'll do it, is that it feels like this would be a show that we would do. And as a result, they were very cool with that, and they didn't have any notes that were like, oh, you can't say this and you can't do this. And so it wound up being a tremendous opportunity for us.
We were proud of.
We were really proud of, and they paid us some money, and so we were able to, to do this thing. We got great actors and great comedic actors to do it, and Michael Blyden, a great director, he directed them, and it wound up being really cool, and it has led to other work for us as well. So we just did the series we did with Sam, Held Up, which was for Sony. It was a pilot that we were in on Comedy Central 2 years ago that never made it for Comedy Central, and they loved the idea at Sony. They said, we want this to have a life on Crackle, which is Sony's website, so let's do 16 5-minute episodes. We'll chop it. This is what it'll be. And they approached the guy who created it, and he was busy, and he said, you should have these guys do it. And
because they've had success with Back on Top. So Back on Top's led directly to that. And
it wound up being a great project. We got Sam to do it. We got this great comedian, John Doerr. He's a Canadian comedian who has a show on IFC called John Doerr Television Show that he did up in Canada that is hysterical, hilarious.
YouTube it, watch it.
Caitlin Olsen from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Tig Notaro, Steve Agee from Sarah's Show, and Sam and us. And it just was, we got Steve Carr, who directed Paul Blart Mall Cop, a very funny movie among many other ones.
Steve Carr?
So
worked with Steve
you
Carr,
worked with him. So great guy, great director, and he directed it. And we were sitting on the set, and we were like, this was probably, we weren't in the business at the time, but this probably was what it was like for Soderbergh, not this specific thing, but like for all the people back then who were making independent films. Felt like very run and gun.
you get a little budget, you get
That's
the people
what it feels
you love.
like to me, absolutely.
That's what this, I mean, this show probably feels like.
No, when we did Vamped Out.
Vamped Out.
Specifically.
Yes.
It feels like the independent filmmaking world. In fact, it's where independent filmmakers are now going.
Right.
In droves.
Because
not
if
just funny people, not just
Right.
comedians who are tired of having their sitcom pilots pissed on by the broadcast networks.
Or shown to
But
40
also
people in
filmmakers,
Iowa
right.
that never get to see it.
Yeah, filmmakers. Yeah, you're right. You're right. And it's where like millions of people are coming to watch stuff too.
Yeah.
And I think of it like David Wayne, someone that we tremendously respect and know and have worked with many times.
David Wayne, who's directing the new Judd Apatow movie. So he's not a struggling no-name guy.
No, he did Role Models. He did Wet Hot American Summer and The 10, which are two of the funniest movies out there. You know, he does a web series called Wainy Days, which I'm sure you know.
Sure.
It is one of the funniest David Wayne properties out there. I think it's as funny as anything he does in any other medium. And that to me is when the quality gets, and that's what you hope to aspire to and say, like, Wayne Days, I think of it like I think of Wet Hot American Summer, like I think of, you
It's
know,
just another thing David made.
Yeah,
And
that's exactly right.
That's when I think this whole thing is gonna, like, the playing field just suddenly. I feel like TiVo leveled the playing field on TV.
Yes, exactly. And then all the cable companies said we have to have a DVR.
that's right.
But then it doesn't matter what channel your show's on.
No,
'Cause
it
if you hear
doesn't.
that the show's good, who cares?
It's
if
a
on
great
channel
show on
490?
Stars. There's
And,
a you know, so
and
let's
I'm
watch
sure
that.
you know that all the new TVs being made by year's end, from what the latest news is, will have internet access.
Oh yeah.
Without a mouse and a keyboard.
Which
you'll
is
just
like-
be able to pull up every show that's available online.
That's right.
From the various networks online, the same way you would from A&E or USA or NBC.
Right. Now the hope is then that you would then be
If you're
able
pulling
to
up a TV show, if you're pulling up Charlie Rose that you love, you can also pull this up right next to it. Then the playing field really gets leveled.
But when it really gets level is when we can all have this support our lives and our families. Because right now you can't do it from a money perspective.
You can't really quit your day job
You can't.
necessarily, but it's amazing how little time is left before we're sitting here saying, do you remember a year ago when you couldn't
Yeah.
actually make a living? I have seen in the 13 or 14 months we've been doing this chat show, and I was sort of on the, well, let's give it 2, 3, 4 years to see how long it takes. People right away in your face saying, oh, it's great that you've come to the internet, man. How are you going to monetize? Everybody's,
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to think about it. First, I'm going to see if I enjoy the damn thing.
Right.
I'm going to see if I'm any good at it. I'm going to see if people keep coming on the show.
Yes,
Then the LA
and yes.
Times put us in column 1, the front page. We didn't have a publicist or a marketing department. How does a comedian actor get in column 1 on the front page of the LA Times? I'll tell you how, gentlemen. He rapes or kills someone. That's
right.
Those are the only 2 ways. Which, oddly enough,
is
they
a
had.
what happens right now.
There's a new segment on the show. Do we have a graphic for that right now? The rape and
called Ass Rape 5. Takes 5 calls.
it's called That's Ask Kevin. Wrong. We had the wrong.
Ass rape forever now. All right. I think we just went there.
Okay.
And now we're back. Yes. So, and now there are media buyers that are actually stepping up, who work with the giant companies who have a $10 to $30 million annual budget for advertising on broadcast television, who are being asked for just a couple of $100,000 to advertise online. They're going, well, all right, the numbers are in $1 million to $2 million on a weekly basis. And then, there's all these downloads and all this, that, and the other thing. And it isn't that viral. I think they were all kind of put off by this unknown kid's got 14 million views every time he shits into a glass. I mean, I don't know how you get.
Which, by the way, that's hard to do.
And by the way, and that is some tight writing. That is tight writing.
That is.
It's all about editing.
It's all about.
If you can't
know,
edit.
the fact that he knows
angle.
when to stop, or like if he does have diarrhea, he knows when to cut
How
it
to cut
off,
it
when
off.
it stops being funny.
That's
just an artist right
also
there.
knowing your audience.
I want to say how much I appreciate that because I know you guys never work blue. Now,
Never.
wait, I want to. No, it is amazing because during that 14 or 15-month process, whatever it is, I think it's probably 14 of the chat show. Of all the people constantly saying, "How are you going to monetize? How are you going to monetize?" To see how long it would actually take for an advertising executive, a salesperson whose job in traditional broadcasting it is to
Sell the
get
thing.
millions of dollars from these giant companies and put them together with original content for broadcast, are finally now stepping up to this show and saying, and then Amazon.com wants to knight the show as well with their 75 million unique views per month.
That's where you
that
try and
sort of
get-
thing. Yeah,
And that's where we're kind of heading. I feel like with Twitter too. It's like, well, what is the Kevin Pollak audience out there? Is it 5 million people, most of whom who love his movies, but a lot of whom who love his stand-up, and now there's like a whole new audience who just kind of knows you really well from this show because they picked it up here. So it's like,
Or people who say, I saw this movie where he played so-and-so's dad, but
Well,
I'm
you know,
also
you
online
think-
and now he's this guy
Yeah.
who has all this too.
You think in terms of how to market any individual, but what happens with a show like this, or what happens to the sports stuff that you're talking about is you reach a point of critical mass. For us, after 14 months, we suddenly had a library of interviews. So now you're not pimping out if anyone gives a shit about me. Suddenly you've got a library of these
people.
interviews,
Sure, and you've got great people.
and it represents a thing now that's wholly separate from Kevin Pollak wants to do his own thing online. It no longer is about that.
No,
But what it's about, I think, also is that we were saying this is like Charlie Rose with people we care about.
People that we care about. It's like if Charlie Rose, and not that Charlie Rose doesn't do a show with people that we care about. There are people that, but show.
It's an interview that allows you to get so deep
Right.
with people.
Right.
And then
Does it seem like it's been an hour and a half, by the way?
no, has it been an hour and a half?
Oh,
Jesus,
I can't
But
believe
so it with so deep with people who are recognizable, the John Hams of the world, the Eddie Izzards of the world.
Izzard?
I don't care. And it's those people. Matthew Perry. Those people,
Nick's
and then you mix in other people who don't have as large of an audience. I'll throw us in that group. But like people who have smaller cult followings, people who have fans from the internet and from stuff they've done. And it's like, where else are you going to see that? You won't see that on television. You won't see it on Letterman.
Right.
You won't see it on.
Yeah, it's funny. We were talking recently. The great George Ruiz, he of the sort of new media agent that gets it from the get, and he's the one that set precedent with Felicia Day's big deal with MSN and all of that. And we were discussing about the Amazon, the future, the thing, and I kept saying, well, there's nothing like this online. There's nothing like this online. And he stopped me and he said, Kevin, there's nothing like this. Period.
Anywhere.
Period.
Yes, anywhere.
There are no 2-hour conversations with Seth MacFarlane, for better or worse. People used to think when we first started was, no, the internet viewers, they like the 6-minute little chunks, So
Not if you're a fan of Seth MacFarlane.
it turns out that's what I was saying when you were saying, what movie of Kevin? How do you bring to people in? Whether it's the whole library or individual pieces of the library that people are interested in, you throw it up and see who wants to tap into it, and that's the nice.
But I even think it's the depth of the interview that, like,
Yeah, of course.
because people will be funny for 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then you really get to, where else are you ever going to see somebody like John Hamm talk for 2 hours where he's not playing a character,
Or-
where he's
yeah.
just being him?
Or Kevin Smith. So Kevin Smith is embroiled in this. I don't know if you did your interview with him after the whole flight thing, but
It was before Southwest. but
Before
yeah.
Southwest.
Airlines.
And so, like, let's say you bring him back here and you talk about it. Like, I'd want to know what the hell for a long period of time. And you're
I want the 23-minute version, not the 1.5-minute version that you have to get on the Tonight
That's
Show.
right. That's right. And so again, I think it's really
what makes it
cool.
different.
Why are we now pimping?
We've
the show?
just been
We're
promoting
already
the show for an hour. We already got on the show.
already on the show. And we're like,
I
hey,
can't think of a
So
better
if
way
you
to
could
ask
book
you to
us-
leave.
Yeah, no, if you could book us, that'd be great.
If we could get on
If
the
we could
show
just get on the show somehow.
Fantastic.
I want to thank you, fellas, so much. Let's go to. I'll allow you a little brief time in your own minds to work up to your Larry King game, which we are now seconds away from, and we'll clear your mental palate with a little questions if we can find one from for these fine folks who've been. Here we are.
Okay.
This is from at Matt Rappaport from the Twitterverse.
He's not Rappaport.
No. He's at.
Which, by the way,
Matt
like,
Rappaport.
that was like a play that like Judd Hirsch was in.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
He was like, how is he also in the touring company and on Broadway? He's in
that
that
good.
play too much.
He's that good. Although I love
Like
him.
he was so not Rappaport, he was Rappaport.
Yeah.
At some point, he became Rappaport. It snaked in on itself.
and now has spent every day since yelling, I'm not Rappaport. Yeah. Tweet 5. Keckner?
T5.
Thank you, sir.
T5.
Funnier show, Curb or Sunny in Philadelphia?
Oh man!
Right? These aren't our easy.
These are goddamn. I don't know. That is really hard. I think Curb's this last season of Curb with the Seinfeld thing was the most brilliant season of a comedy that I can remember. I think from beginning to end, just the idea of the whole bringing the Seinfeld people back together and then
Jerry was the best.
just Jerry and Larry in the office talking to each other. Like the quintessential conversation was the conversation about hanging up the phone.
About Richard Lewis hanging up the phone.
Did he?
Does he need to call him back?
Yes.
It's like we
Because
got
he dropped
cut
the
off.
call. Speaking of dropping the calls, the call dropped.
Did you wind? He's like, you were in the wind down.
Were you in the wind
You
down?
were in the
Yeah.
wind
Call.
down. And that just, again, going back to why we loved and what got us into comedy and Jerry Seinfeld in the first place, that he seemed so himself. That being said, I mean, you've done both shows. He did Curb and we both did Sunny. I mean, I think It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is so fast and so funny, and I love those guys so much. It is, and those guys kind of came out of nowhere. Not came out of nowhere, but like they had a fully formed concept that FX, thank God, gave them. And look at them in their 5th season, numbers exploding. Like, thank God FX.
That's an example, a rare example
critical
for TV.
mass.
Yeah,
And we're
TV's
friends with Caitlin did our web
Right.
series, and Rob is a good friend of ours, and Glenn, and we know those guys. And like,
Good, because we're going to hit you up to get him on the show.
okay,
Great.
well they should, they absolutely should, and they just, I mean, they were telling me about touring around because they did their sort of the play version
Right.
of the
musical.
Nightman and Dayman Cometh, and they did like kind of the whole episode and read it, and they went to the Universal Amphitheater. 6,000 people sold out. This is in LA.
Right.
Everywhere they went, sold out with like, they took a pause and fans would yell back the lines from the show. There is so much, and so there is like a movement with that show that is so incredible. I think it's hard. I know this is going to be a terrible, lame answer, but I would put them at a tie, but they're different shows and different things.
I'll tell you what that was. It was the most thoughtful answer to any of the tweet fives we've ever had.
I don't know.
I can't ask for
out.
more.
It was a
than that.
wuss out. I
nothing
can't
to do with
decide.
Did I mention these are rapid fire?
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Number 2, by the way. This
Oh,
is
this is
tweet
number
5
2.
number 2.
Jesus Christ.
Speaking of number 1, urinal or stall?
Urinal.
Urinal.
Really?
Cakes. Urinal cakes.
I'll even go
Stall.
trough. I'd pee in a
Before the
trough.
stall?
Before the stall.
So you don't relate to my problem earlier?
No,
I can't take a public crap. That's like a...
No, urinal. I'm talking about when you have to
Pee.
pee.
Right,
Yeah.
You
so
go to the-
urinal all the way.
Do you,
I can urinal it. I can urinal.
all right.
I'm all right.
Bunch of
How
people
about like
around
regular,
at the ballpark?
I would go to the person who sent that question, regular urinal or handicapped urinal.
All right.
Like if both are like open to you.
Again,
where
way
do
too
you
much
go?
thought going into the
All
tweet
right.
5.
3.
I'm a huge fan. Stewart or Conan? Not easy.
Oh, that is not easy at
Right?
all.
Came right at you with
I mean, I have a...
It's like Sophie's choice.
this. You have to kill one of them. That's exactly right.
one of them.
I didn't want to bring up that part just
I
yet,
mean,
but you do have, one of them is going to die today.
I'm fans of both of them, but I'd have to say I have like a deeper place in my heart for Jon Stewart. But I mean, I love them
I'd say
both.
I'd say the Daily Show.
You had to have sex with one of them.
Jon Stewart, because he's smaller. He's easily in a
I assume his anus would be more forgiving. Just, kill me for the
Forgiving
assumption.
of what?
The atrocities,
Holocaust. The
the
Holocaust.
atrocities
The
that were
Holocaust.
committed on our people.
More forgiving. More forgiving. That will be my favorite phrase as I drive to Irvine.
More forgiving anus.
More forgiving.
A more forgiving anus you will not find. That's the Jewish way to say that.
He's a wonderful guy.
A more forgiving
A
anus. you will not
Hamish
find.
person, a more forgiving anus you'll never find. You will not find. I defy you. He went to Dartmouth. Vacations in Fire Island.
But
More forgiving anus you will not find.
You ask his anus for forgiveness. You do not have to ask twice.
we will not finish this tweet 5.
Let's go. Come on.
Because it is pointless.
Let's finish it.
No.
Take
You
us
can't
home.
possibly
Take us
LA
home.
traffic or fake press, which has more LA has more traffic or fake press.
Oh, more traffic. Absolutely.
And bros or hoes.
Bros all the way.
And that's why you finish with most forgiving anus. Gentlemen, you have just a few seconds. You'll be staring into your camera to give your Larry King interpretation, if you recall.
I wish I had
Bad Larry
suspenders.
King impression. That moment when Larry reveals something about himself none of us want to know.
Okay.
This
And then,
is relevant.
And then number 3 the rule, very important, I'm not sure we discussed before, when you go to the phone, the name of the city should be funny sounding if possible.
Okay. Okay.
When you're ready,
All right, just
take your
collect it.
time.
Are we going to do dueling Larry Kings here?
Well, it's between the two of you. There's no rules.
His shoulders are way up.
I'm doing the one I wanted to do.
You were doing the one you wanted?
You can go one at a time,
Yeah,
or
I
it
might
can be
go with
stereo.
It could be.
It could be Larry King
You do
twins.
one. You do one, and
Just
I'll...
twin Larry Kings.
All this is good.
He's on the show.
Is Larry moving? Is he having a movement?
No, yeah, well, that is what it is. Yeah. People, a revelation. Larry King.
Latoya Jackson on the show with us today.
Program coming up. Yes.
Latoya Jackson on the show. Wanted to take some time to reveal a personal thing in my life.
I had 2 anuses.
One
Just for farting.
just for letting it fly, and the other one for crapping out all the General Tso chicken I eat on a regular basis.
We have a call. Donna in Shreveport. Donna, you're on the line.
Yes,
There we
thank
go.
you, gentlemen,
All right,
very
two
much.
Two
anuses.
anuses.
You cannot beat the
forgiven.
way we finished out, I believe, the last 5 minutes with
My
the...
second anus is a lot more forgiving than my first.
You went to the phone for that.
It was, no, it was
Mark in Saginaw.
His isn't a phone. His is the intercom from Mad Men.
Julie, are you getting this? Gentlemen, I can't thank you enough.
This is a
I
blast.
trust you had fun.
Oh, wow.
You will come back, and next time bring your friends from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Of course.
No, really, honestly, big fan, and thanks so much for bringing your funny and your insight and your history. It means a lot to us.
Thank you.
This is great.
And I will ask you one last time to sit there uncomfortably while I sign off to the fine folks from around the globe. We've had a tough go of it at the outset with the loss of Jamie and Sam. I want to thank Corey for sitting in. Corey, did you enjoy the experience overall? Would it work for you? Would you come back if Jamie and/or Sam decided to go take leave?
Can I think about it?
Yes, sure.
All right.
Thank you. A perfect answer indeed, Corey. A more forgiving Corey you will not find. It looks as though the crew gag today has its own audio. I'm not sure what that means, but I wonder what the crew has been up to for the last hour 40. Turn that up. Turn the TV up. Oh. Man, Levine and Jamie. That was Sam, Levine, and Jamie on the Young Sam is. Yes!
Yes.
I'm not sure what it was in the milk that made him spit it out, and then saw Sam and Jamie on the card.
Two things.
We're going to need to work on that particular, and in editing we'll clean it all up. But very funny and very well done as always. Thank you, gentlemen, my wonderful crew. Thanks also, which I normally do at the outset, but to Brian Tyler for the opening and closing theme, Jeremy Shelton for the fine graphics, Jeremy R. Scott for the wonderful website that we so enjoy, Ustream, Justin TV, and Donkey Tees doing their part to help the show. We have T-shirts for you guys as we threw across the table earlier. Next week, we're going to continue the cavalcade of wildly funny, inventive people that I love to death, and we bring Greg Proops into your eyes and ears next week at this time. And you know, I'm very excited. It looks as though we have Martin Mull to finish out the month, so wonderful. Couldn't be happier. Until then being next time we see each other, as always, please get out of my face.